أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First I should say that in being asked to share a few words, a few thoughts about Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his life and his legacy is not easy. For myself, whenever asked to make a few comments, to give what may be called a short speech, I have a habit of overindulging myself. When I start to read, depending on the subject, I just don't know where to stop. And in this subject, I've been reading since the time I was asked to say a few words, and I've been reading up to the last minute, and I probably, if I had more years, I would keep reading because there's no end. And I think that statement captures why we're here, the significance of what we're examining, the person that we're looking at, and of course what happened on the 10th of Muharram, Ashura. But let me start, just try to give a little background about Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and I'm sure all of you know it, what I'm about to say, and if I say something that the history doesn't agree with from your reading, from your study, I apologize for that. I'm just conveying to you what I've read. All of us know that he was born in Medina, he was living in Medina, he was loved in Medina, and he was the center of life and guidance in that city. People orbited around him. His brother Imam Hassan alayhi salam had been poisoned, and the intrigue was present in that city. The people in control, the government people in control, after Muawiyah died and Yazid had his governors put pressure on Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they put him in a very difficult situation. This character, it was one named Marwan ibn Hakam, there was another one named Walid ibn Utbah. These were the governors there. One followed the other. And at some point, this Yazid character told the governor to go and put pressure on Imam Hussein alayhi salam to give the bay'ah to him. You know, the bay'ah, the oath of allegiance, was a customary practice among the Arabs in their tribal structures, that whoever was the leader of that tribe, the people in it, they had to show their allegiance to that leader, meaning they would obey that person, support that person, so forth and so on. So this was the Arab custom. So Yazid, who never really accepted Islam, is trying to impose this custom on a person who cannot accept it. For many, many reasons. He cannot accept putting his allegiance, his hand, his heart in the hands of such a despot. So when these characters came to him, this Walid guy with Marwan came to Imam Hussein, as you know, telling him basically his days are up. You have to give the bay'ah. Yazid wants it, and give it. So the Imam alayhi salam, being smart, he delayed. He said, no, just let me think about that, and I'll make a decision. And he gave himself time. When this Walid and Marwan character returned, the Imam basically told them no. And for the youngsters here, when the Imam actually met with these criminal characters there, he had young people accompanying him to the tent, to the place of the meeting where this bay'ah was supposed to take place. And he told them if they were to hear any type of rumblings, like if some fight are going on, to come inside and protect him, because he was not going to give any bay'ah to this governor on behalf of Yazid. In any case, he didn't do that, and he had a little more time, and he eventually left. When he met with his family members, he told them that he would leave Medina, and Medina was heartbroken. It was a heartbroken city. It was a very, very sad scene. And the Imam, he spoke to his brother. He had a brother named Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. He communicated with him. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya talked to him, and then he made the decision to leave. When he left, the history says he left with about 28 people. That was his family members, not all of them left, and some followers. He left behind his young daughter, and Medina was a scene of tears and sadness. The Imam is leaving. Where is he going to? The history say he left in the month of Rajab to go to Mecca. He was going there. In Mecca, he would perform his Hajj. And when he arrived there, he began to receive a lot of communication from the people in Kufa. Some of the history says 10,000 letters, 15,000 letters, 5,000 letters. He was getting all of this communication where people were saying, please come. We don't have an Imam in Kufa, and we want you to come to the city of your father, Imam Ali alayhi salam, where he was. So he was gauging these letters and these communique to see how authentic they were. And of course, you know, he sent Muslim ibn Aqil to Kufa to see whether or not these communications, who these characters were these people trustworthy people that he could trust to make his trip to Kufa. Well, while he was there and the weeks were passing by and the month of Dhul Hijjah arrived, the Imam received some information. And the information he received, the language we would use today, is that a hit squad was in Mecca. An assassination team, a hit team was there. And they were going to assassinate him right near the Kaaba, right in Mecca in the holy precinct, somewhere in that area. And when the Imam got wind that this was about to happen, he decided, no, actually it was two reasons, according to what I read, why he decided to leave and not allow that dirty act to take place there. The first reason was, in Mecca, that's a sacred city. It's not supposed to be killing over there. You don't walk around breaking branches. You don't step on ants. And you're surely not supposed to kill some person, an innocent person. So he wanted to protect the sanctity of the Haram. But then there was another reason why he didn't want the hit to take place there, which is, if he would have been stabbed, if that was the weapon they would have used to kill him, then they could have explained the assassination in a way that most of the people didn't know. So they could have manipulated the information, and had he, for example, if they would have stabbed him or hit him with a sword and he died, they could have just explained it to the 200, 300, 500, 1,000 people there. Okay, he got hit by a crazy person or something like that. So Yazid and his forces, they could have manipulated the information. So the Imam knew that he had to leave. And of course, he's functioning in the spirit and in the reality of his prophecy, that he knows that he has to taste Shahada in Karbala. See, he had been living with that from the time he was born. And I'm sure all of you had read that when Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was born, when he was brought to his grandfather, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, The Prophet cried, the history said. He began to cry. Salama, one of his wives, is the one who actually brought the baby to him. And then she asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why are you crying so much? This is a newborn baby. Why? Why are you crying? And he was profusely crying. And then the history said he gave her a vow with some dirt in it, dirt, sand, whatever that substance was. And he told her, you keep this. And you should know when this turns red, you would know this baby right here has been martyred. Actually, some of the history said she had 2 vows. That she was later giving another one of dirt, either by Imam Hussein when he became an adult, to keep, because he was very close to Salama. So he leaves Mecca and he's on his way to Kufa. He leaves with a small group, his family members, there's some followers. He's not traveling with soldiers, even though he knows the threat is imminent. And mind you, he's moving with the knowledge of a prophetic destiny. He knows martyrdom is right there. He's not escaping something. He knows it's right there. But what he's actually doing, he's managing the reality. He's not escaping from the reality. It's very different. He's managing the destiny in a smart way. Because the Muslim Ummah at that time and the deception of Yazid and the relative backwardness of those early Muslims who would fall victim to Yazid's cunning manners, he knew that something major had to happen to break them out of that decadence that they were in. He knew that. So he was managing how his shahada would unfold. Every decision he made, he knew that. And he told people on numerous occasions when they would say, like, you're going to die, you're going to be a martyr, where is it going to happen? And he would mention Karbala. He would tell them it's going to be in Karbala. So it was no real secret that Karbala would be the place of his martyrdom. The history says when he left Mecca and he got on the road heading to Kufa, reportedly, he met this poet named Farazdaq. Farazdaq he met along the journey, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam asked Farazdaq about what's the situation in Kufa. And the poet Farazdaq, he said, in Arabic, he said, Qulubuhum ma'ak, their hearts are with you. Wasuyufukum alayk, but their swords against you. You cannot trust these. Basically, he's telling me you can't trust these people. Be very careful about where you're going. These Iraqis in Kufa, they cannot be trusted. They're dangerous people. But even though he was told that, his destiny is written. He knows exactly where he's going. And the people with him know that he is fulfilling the prophecy of his martyrdom. So he moves. The history says he stopped before reaching Karbala. He had 14 stops in different villages, talking to different people, communicating with them, and so forth. And while he's moving, the enemy soldiers are following him, monitoring him, taunting him, saying bad things. And he's holding himself together. He's not allowing himself to talk to them like they're talking to him. He's trying to reach them. Like he's basically saying, hey, don't you know who I am? Do you know who these people are? The history says the age of the people who were with him eventually in Karbala was from 6 months to 90 years. That was the age range, 6 months to 90, because there was some old Sahaba there. Fidda was there. Fidda was the lady who was with the Prophet ﷺ when he was a 6-year-old boy, and he visited Medina to visit the relatives on his father's side. And when he was returning with his mother, Amina alayhi salam, she died at a place called Abwa. And Fidda and this 6-year-old boy took their hands and dug the soil and buried Amina right there. And of course, you know, the Saudis are destroying these places. They don't want anybody to go and see where the Prophet's mother is buried. They're destroying all of these historical places. So Fidda was an African lady who was so loving and so caring. And she was there with them. So as he moves, stopping along these places, and eventually they trap him, they hold him, they stop him in Karbala on the 2nd of Muharram. Some of the historians say that the water supply was stopped on the 7th, but Ayatollah Mutahhari, may Allah have mercy on his soul, said that's not true. He gave a series of speeches about Karbala in 1969, Ayatollah Mutahhari, and he said that's not true, that the family was receiving some water on the 7th, on the 8th, on the 9th, but not very much. This is what he says. So, you know, if anybody disagrees, you have to take it up with Ayatollah Mutahhari. I'm just telling you what I read. And so, as they are kind of pinned down or trapped in this place of destiny, you know the story. The family is thirsty, even if they had water. The family, the supporters, they don't have very much. They're still being taunted. Yazid is putting pressure on that army, Umar ibn Sa'd, the other criminals over there. And they're putting pressure on him. And all the time, the Imam is trying to reach them. Why? Because he knows this is not a moment in time. Ashura is not about the year 61 on the 10th of Muharram, year 680. It's not about that. Because they asked him early on, yeah, Imam, even when he left Medina and then he left Mecca, he used to be asked all the time, why did you rise? Why are you causing all of this rebellion and this problem? And he told his brother, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, he left him his will in a text. And I think all of you know this. I'm sure Brother Muharram knows it in Arabic, and I don't want to try to say it in Arabic because I'll mess it up. But I'm going to just tell you and there are varying translations you see in English. He told in a testament written to his brother Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, he said this was his reason for leaving Medina when they were putting the pressure on him to give the bay'ah. He said, quote, I am leaving Medina not to cause any sedition, nor corruption, or in jest, meaning in folly, just frivolously leaving. He said, I am leaving with the sole objective of guiding the ummah of my grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, and I will enjoin al-amr bil ma'ruf, when I will forbid an-nahi anil munkar, and I will follow the footsteps of my grandfather and my father. And he said, if anyone, this is what he left to his brother Muhammad ibn Hanafiya in a text. He said, if anyone wants to respond to my righteous call, it's better for them. He said, in the eyes of Allah, if you want to join me basically in this, it's better for you. On the other hand, if anyone objects to why I'm rising, I shall be patient, and I will seek Allah's judgment between me and those people. Wallahu khairul hakimin. And he said, Allah is the best of the judges. So there are different versions of this. Inni kharajtu li taliba Salahuddeen jaddi. He said, I've gone out seeking to reform, to make islah in the deen of my grandfather and my father. This term islah is used also in the Quran on some occasions with some anbiya who are trying to reform their people and guide them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically, while he's there and the tasua comes, you know what happens. The imam meets with his family, he meets with the supporters, he lets them uncategorically know that these enemies, they don't want you, they want me. And he told them they could depart, and their departure, if they were to leave him, it would not be something shameful. They could go. He gave them every opportunity because he understood what was going on. Remember, I said he was micromanaging and macromanaging this reality. And of course, nobody left him. And the story, you know the story, the candle and the light went out and so forth and so on. This is some of the things that happened. And then, of course, on the Ashura, the sweet taste of martyrdom reached him and the others. And that brings me to where we are today. And for me, this is why this kind of study and preparation is so difficult. Because we don't live in the past. We learn from the past for the present and the future. And when we ask ourselves, what was this whole experience all about? And what does it mean to us today? Sadly, in this country where we are, I'm not talking about Muslim Ummah, the 54 countries in Africa, the 190 plus nations in the United Nations. I'm talking about here, right here where we are. What's the strategic plan for Muslims in this country? What's our major responsibility as Muslims in this country right now? What are we supposed to be doing and what can we do? What are we not supposed to be doing and what shouldn't we do? Who is showing us the way? What happened to the wahda that we all brag about? وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. We have all of these wonderful gifts from Allah. But where are we in time? Myanmar, Rohingya Muslims, 1 million more or less in Bangladesh suffering. Who's talking about it? Who has anything to be done? Yemen, a basket case. Syria, a basket case. Afghanistan can hardly stabilize. Iraq, co-opted, a stolen country, Uncle Sam's country, with all of the resistance of the Muslims there, but they basically hijacked the whole country. Saudi Arabia, causing fitna and corruption at every turn. They cannot stop spreading corruption. And we're here. And we have the legacy. So the question becomes, what are we supposed to be doing? How do we give this commemorative? We're wearing black. And Ayatollah Mutahari, he talked about something called tahrif. Tahrifat. He called it the exaggerations. There's some exaggerations when it comes to the life and the legacy of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, particularly when it comes to what happened on Ashura and after that. And he said, no, clean up this thing. Clean up what happened. All of the exaggerations don't get us anywhere. And I have a list of them. I can read some of what he mentioned, but time won't allow. But we have to clean up this experience. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his loved ones, his children, they gave their blood standing on a principle. Inna ladhina qalu rabbuna Allah thumma istaqamu. Man qatala nafsan, here says the ayat, man qatala nafsan bighayri nafsin aw fasadin fil ard فَكَأَنَّمَا قَتَلَ النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. Whoever kills one soul unjustly without a haqq to do so, or for spreading some type of facade and corruption in the land, not the Saudi Arabians who will be beheading people now, trying to call it corruption. They have nothing to do with corruption except them. They should chop their own heads off. Or give somebody else a chance to chop it off. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not talking about them and what they're doing. He's talking about the innocent people who are killed. Imam Hassan and Imam Ali before Karbala, they used to say, La yawmun ka yawmaka ya Aba Abdullah. They used to say, "Oh Hussein, there is no day like your day." It's false. Some people say the saying, "Kullu yawmin Ashura wa kullu ardin Karbala." They say that statement has been misunderstood. There is nothing like that day. All of the tragedies that we're seeing in the world that break our hearts, they are terrible. They are massacres. But they don't touch Karbala. Never confuse the two. Nothing can reach that level. The quality, the significance. Islam was on the line. Some people may say, how could Islam be on the line? They had Quran. No, you need a living Quran. That's why the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Al-Hussein minni wa ana min al-Hussein. This is the living presentations and representations of Quran. So had the Imam not had rose at that time, we would have had what we call the monkey business Islam. You have no idea what would be going on in here right now. First of all, this might be a discotheque, this building right now, if Yazid's tradition would have prevailed. Alayhi latna, and all of those who were with him. So finally, I'll just say, if we really want to commemorate and honor the life and legacy, we have to do the dissection and the critique of our own reality. And we have to step out of that small circle we move in. It's a small circle we have to move in, meaning everybody is his or her own individual. And everybody is in a family, hopefully. And everybody is in a community, if we say masajid or communities and cities and so forth. But the Imam alayhi salam and those with him, they were living in a universal reality, transcending time and place. And that was not just unique for them. That's supposed to be us. Transcending time and place and finding our place in this world. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to make those kind of discoveries, and we ask him to help us to really have the capacity to critique where we are in time and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking and calling for all of us to do. The time is fleeting. We have many friends and relatives who have passed on, who've gone back to Allah. We know them. We have our brothers and sisters who are dying, diphtheria and cholera in the Bangladeshi refugee camps with Rohingya is an absolute disaster. Palestine, oh my God, 70 years. How many more years they have to take that foolishness? How many more? Razan an-Najjar, take a bullet in the chest from a Yahudi girl. Nobody's even talking. And then you say, is this what Allah created us for? For somebody to abuse us, to abuse his deen, to hijack his religion, to abuse his people? No, he didn't say that. وَصَلِّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَوَاتٍ.